Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so today we're tackling something huge, something we feel literally every second, but maybe don't. Question enough. Gravity.
Right. And we're not just rehashing the standard physics class here.
No, definitely not. We're diving into this framework called the gravity catalog, and it kicks off with a pretty bold claim, doesn't it? That gravity is maybe the most measured and the least questioned thing in science.
It's a strong statement, yeah. And it really sets the stage for this whole approach from Sharif Ali-Rashada. The core idea, the premise, is fascinating. It says, look, before we jump to Einstein or Newton, before any theory...
We need to just stop and observe.
Exactly. Create a full, unfiltered list of what gravity actually does, all the observations, big and small.
So the mission here for you, listening, is to kind of strip away the theoretical layers for a moment. Just focus on the raw what? The reality of the experience.
Precisely. Because the argument is, gravity isn't some abstract concept hidden away. It's immediate. It's persistent. The text says it's beneath your feet, above your head, and within your chest. It's right here.
Okay, so let's start there then, right here. Part 1, they call it the intimate catalog. Gravity on the human scale. Our lived reality.
Yeah, this is all about how gravity feels, literally, in our bodies.
Yeah.
In flesh and bone. The most obvious thing. Weight. That constant downward pull.
Pressure, right.
Constant pressure. Your organs pressing down, your arms feeling heavy when you lift them. It's always there.
And the source points out something interesting about just standing up. Seems simple, but it's actually this continuous pressure load we're under.
Which leads to discomfort, fatigue, just from resisting it.
And then that insight about lying down.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. The relief you feel, that's because you're changing how that load is distributed. Taking that vertical pressure off or spreading it out.
So that simple act of lying down basically proves gravity isn't passive. It's this active thing our body is constantly fighting.
It's an active burden, yeah. And it shapes us, literally. The catalog talks about bone density.
Right. It responds to the load. Take away the pressure like in space.
And your bones start losing mass. It's a direct response. Our bodies are built for this pressure.
And muscles too, not just for moving us around, but for...
Well...
resisting.
Yeah.
Holding us up.
Yeah, I thought that bit about fatigue from stillness was really striking. Sitting upright all day, that's constant muscle work against compression.
It totally reframes why we get tired, doesn't it? It's not just running around.
It's the constant resistance. You see it play out, sadly, with older people sometimes. Falls can happen not from a trip, but just the inability to keep resisting that downward pull while standing still.
And okay, what about movement, like climbing stairs?
Well, that requires extra effort, right?
Yeah.
Directly because you're working harder against gravity's opposition as you go higher. Every step is resistance management.
Even that stomach drop feeling when you fall.
That's your insides reacting, isn't it? A brief, sort of violent mismatch between internal and external motion until things stabilize. It's your body registering that the negotiation with gravity just got interrupted.
Wow, okay. And it even affects things like how your hair hangs or clothes drape.
Everything aligns vertically. Gravity dictates that basic orientation.
So this intimate catalog, it sets a baseline then. Any theory about gravity has to account for this feeling, this pressure, this persistence.
Absolutely. It has to explain the feeling of weight, not just the math of attraction or curvature.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit. If gravity is shaping us, how does it shape the world around us? Part 2, the structural and environmental catalog. Gravity as the architect.
Yeah, the quiet architect. It organizes things. Think about settling, dust, soot. It always ends up on horizontal surfaces, right? Pulled down.
And liquid stratify. Oil on water. Mud settling in a puddle. Density sorting. Driven by gravity.
Water flow, too.
Yeah.
Totally gravity-driven. Carves canyons, makes rivers flow downhill. That's why plumbing works. You need that downward path.
That's fundamental. And convection. Flames pointing up.
That's a cool one. It only happens because of gravity. Hot air is less dense, so cooler. Denser air pushes underneath it, forcing the flame upwards. In zero-G...
Flames are spheres, right? Because there's no up defined by denser air falling.
Exactly. And think about plants. Geotropism. Trees grow up, fighting the weight, while roots go down. Gravity gives them that reference, that vertical axis they react to.
Okay, so it shapes the natural world. What about the stuff we build?
Well, gravity is basically the uncredited co-designer on every blueprint, every beam, every foundation. It's all a negotiation with that constant downward pressure.
I like that idea. A building isn't just resting, it's actively holding itself up. A column isn't static. It's under constant compression.
Constant, minute by minute, year after year. That's why engineers talk about load-bearing capacity. They have to calculate that persistent force trying to pull the structure down.
Designing a bridge isn't just about the cars driving over it.
No, it's also about the weight of the bridge itself, constantly pressing down. And we even use gravity to define what's true in construction. Plumb lines, spirit levels.
They rely on gravity to show us true vertical and horizontal. It's the standard.
And because that load never stops, materials get tired. Things sag, droop, creep over time. Gravity just wears everything down eventually.
Right. Okay. So from our bodies to buildings, now let's go bigger. Part 3, the cosmic catalog. Still focusing on observable effects, but way out there.
Yeah, starting closer to home, celestial phenomena. Tides are the obvious one. The moon's pull on the oceans.
And not just the oceans, right? The catalog mentions the Earth's crust actually bulges too.
It does. And the atmosphere. The solid ground beneath your feet moves up and down by maybe 30 centimeters every day because of the moon. It's measurable.
That's wild. And orbits, of course. Planets, moons, satellites.
All about balancing speed and distance against that gravitational pull, finding an equilibrium in that field.
And those special spots, the Lagrange points.
Ah, yeah. Points of gravitational stability in, say, the Earth-Sun system, where all the poles and the orbital motion balance out perfectly for a small third object, like,
Yeah.
well, like where the James Webb Telescope sits, very stable, saves fuel.
And the opposite end, things breaking up, the Roche limit.
Right. Get too close to a big planet and its tidal forces, the difference in gravitational pull across your body, can overcome whatever holds you together, rip you apart. That's how planetary rings form.
Okay, and speaking of space, weightlessness. Let's clarify that again. It's not zero gravity.
Definitely not. Crucial point, it's continuous free fall. You're moving sideways so fast that as you fall towards Earth, the Earth curves away beneath you at the same rate. You're constantly falling around it. Gravity is very much active.
And then things get really weird with time. Gravitational time dilation.
Yeah, this one's subtle but profound. Clocks closer to a massive object tick slower, measurably slower. It's tiny, but GPS satellites actually have to correct for this effect to stay accurate.
So mass literally warps time. That's a big observation.
It is, and then you zoom out to whole galaxies, stars orbiting the center. They often move faster than our standard Newtonian gravity says they should, based on the visible mass.
Which leads to theories like dark matter or needing different gravity models on those scales, right?
Exactly. Something's needed to explain that observed motion, to hold the galaxy together coherently.
Okay, wow. So we've built this incredible list. From an ache in your bones to the ticking of satellite clocks to galaxies spinning. That's the catalog. Now, part 4 is where it gets, well, critical. Evaluating our existing theories against this reality.
Right. Let's look at the big two. First, Newton.
Force of attraction. Super predictive formula, 1/8LW, G-frac, M1 militude 2. Works incredibly well for most things.
Incredibly well. But Newton himself famously said he didn't know how it worked. Action at a distance, across empty space. He offered no mechanism. It was force without a cause, essentially.
Okay, then comes Einstein. General relativity. No more force, it's geometry. Space-time curvature.
Yep. Mass tells space-time how to curve, and space-time tells mass how to move. Beautifully explains things like light bending, Mercury's weird orbit. It's elegant.
It is. But the catalog argues it's geometry.
Yeah.
Also without a clear physical mechanism for the interaction.
That's the core critique. GR gives us these amazing predictions, this abstract framework, but it often falls silent on the cause or the practical tools for calculating things like pressure and resistance we see in the catalog.
Wait, hang on. I mean, GR is like the bedrock of modern cosmology.
Yeah.
Tested like crazy. Is the catalog saying it's wrong?
Not necessarily wrong in its domain, but maybe insufficient or incomplete, especially when it comes to local mechanical stuff. Let's take weight again, that first item.
Okay. How does GR explain weight?
It models weight as your resistance to following a geodesic. Basically, the floor is stopping you from taking the straightest possible path through curved space-time.
Conceptually, that makes sense. It's elegant.
Yeah.
But how do I use that idea to calculate how much stress is on a concrete pillar or the pressure on my feet right now?
And that's the gap the catalog points to. In the real world, for any practical calculation of force, pressure, structural load, what do?
We use 5mg. Back to Newton.
Exactly. We default immediately to the Newtonian force model. The catalog argues GR gives us no practical way to compute that kind of field interaction, that pressure distribution.
So engineers building skyscrapers, bridges, they're essentially using Newtonian physics for all the structural calculations, not GR.
Pretty much entirely. That's the engineering blind spot the source mentions. GR is brilliant for the large-scale geometry, the cosmos, but it's silent on calculating compression, stress, material fatigue in a building. It doesn't offer the tools for that vertical force calculation.
Wow. Okay. And even out in space, you mentioned time dilation.
Yeah. GR models it beautifully as a consequence of space-time curvature. But the catalog asks, why? Why does mass warp time? GR tells us that it happens, describes the geometry, but doesn't offer a fundamental physical reason or mechanism for how mass achieves that.
It describes, but doesn't explain the underlying cause.
Right. And even for things like calculating tides or figuring out the stability of those Lagrange points we talked about, scientists often end up using Newtonian concepts, field gradients, vector addition. It's like they revert to the language of force fields to get the practical calculations done.
So let's try and wrap this up. We've gone through this huge catalog of gravity's effects. Its pressure, its resistance, its structure, its persistence. It's what makes standing up require effort.
And the big takeaway from this perspective, from the gravity catalog framework, is that our best theory, general relativity, while amazing for prediction and cosmic geometry, it kind of goes quiet on the cause, especially the cause of these direct, tangible, physical interactions.
Which forces us, in practice, to keep going back to the older, simpler Newtonian force models for almost everything practical. Engineering, orbital mechanics calculations.
Right. There's this split between the abstract theoretical beauty and the practical calculable reality.
Okay, so we've really established gravity as this relentless weight, this constant resistance. Yeah. If GR defines it as geometry, and that explains the universe's shape incredibly well, but it leaves the feeling of compression, the why of time dilation sort of unaddressed, unmodeled. It leaves us with a big question, doesn't it?
It definitely does.
What fundamental truth about how mass and structure and maybe even time itself are all connected?
Yeah.
What are we still missing?